All right, guys, what's going on? Welcome to the Shift Fitness Systems YouTube channel where we help men over 30 look good, feel good, and get after it. And today we are talking about everybody's favorite thing, whether it's sports or the movies or your favorite celebrity or whatever, talking about the comeback. All right, so maybe you were really active in your younger years. Maybe you were active through college, through your first couple of years back in your career, but things have gotten really busy. You have a family, you're really busy with your business. Maybe, your relationships are more challenging and you're just generally like you fell off a little bit, right? You've taken a hiatus, all right? So what I'm going to talk about today are the 3, maybe 4 biggest mistakes that I see guys, especially if you're motivated, make as they're trying to get their way back into fitness, get their way back into a healthy lifestyle, and create some momentum that they need to be able to sustain things over the long term. All right. So let me walk y'all through just like a common path. Maybe you've seen this in yourself. I know I've seen this in myself before. So this is a path that a lot of my clients experience because, at this point, I would say 20 to 30% of the guys who come through my coaching program are in this position. All right. So maybe you see something on Instagram that inspires you. You haven't been working out like you need to. Maybe you went and tried on a pair of pants that didn't fit. Maybe you went to go throw a ball with your kid and your shoulder hurt or, your back hurt or shit. Maybe even tried to climb a flight of stairs and you got out of breath, okay? Whatever it is, you need to get back into fitness and you're gung-ho on doing it, all right? So here's the thing. This chart right here is the common path, I think, for most guys who try to get back into fitness when it does not stick. Sometimes it does, but a lot of times it doesn't, and here's why. So you have the first couple weeks, you're seeing some progress. You're building on your workouts. You're able to be consistent at the gym. You're excited, right? Things are going well for you. And then all of a sudden, you hit an injury. Or, you hit a big business trip where you're going to be drinking a lot and going out to a lot of dinners and not working out. Maybe you get sick. Maybe your kids get sick. Maybe something happens in your life that derails your current routine and progress, and then all of a sudden, you don't have the systems in place to be able to get back on the horse when those things resolve, and then you're right back at the bottom. You're right back where you started. You take another 2 or 3 months to, feel sorry for yourself, be like, damn, I should have kept up with that. You start to miss some things, and then you have to restart the process all over again. All right. So we see this around New Year's, whenever people are setting these resolutions. We see this, around the midterm, whenever it's like, all right, I'm going to really get my shit together. Okay. I see this all the time. All right. So these 4 mistakes are the things that I want to help y'all pay attention to and avoid if you're trying to get back into fitness, get your healthy lifestyle going, and really make a legitimate comeback for the long term. All right. So let's go ahead and get into it. Before we get too much further along, I want to tell you about our one-on-one coaching. So at this point, we've had over 100 guys come through the program, 20 to 30% of which are really making a legitimate comeback in their fitness. And, we've helped them get to a place where their comeback has stuck and they've built habits and routines and things that are going to last them a lifetime. And if you need some more accountability, you need some more help or more structure or just somebody to be your hype man, check out shiftfitsystems.com, see what we're all about, and book a call if that's something that you feel like you might need. And if that doesn't float your boat, totally cool, and you just want a little bit more excitement and athleticism in your training, I developed a 5-day free email course where we cover a whole bunch of different exercises that are little tweaks and modifications on common gym movements to help bring a little bit more spice and sauce back into your training routine. So if you're feeling a little stuck, a little tight, a little in your body, and you just want a little more juice in your training, go ahead and check that out and we'll get you some free upgrades. All right, guys, so the biggest mistake that I see dudes make whenever they're getting back into their fitness and getting back on their, getting back on the horse is that they lack a plan and they lack a real and meaningful goal. All right, so let's talk a little bit more about that. So now I do offer customized coaching. I talked to you a little bit about that a couple seconds ago. I'm not saying you need to do that when you're first getting back into it, right? There's more pieces that come with it other than just the plan. There's the accountability and the hype and all that stuff. But whenever it comes to actually having a workout plan that you can execute, I'm not even kidding. You can go to ChatGPT. You can type in 3 times a week, full body, beginner weight training program, and it will spit out something that is honestly not that bad, okay? That will at least give you some structure that you're going to be hitting whenever you go into the gym. Because a big problem is that you say, all right, I know I need to get back working out. Well, shit, what do I do? If you just walk into the gym without any real structure in your mind of the sets, the reps, the exercises, you will walk around there like a little kid lost in the grocery store, all right? I've seen it 1,000 times. I see it every time I go to the gym. People just in there doing whatever, and that's not only going to short-term lock down your progress, but also too, it's going to lead you to just be like, well, shit, I don't know what I'm going to do, so I'm not going. all right? So whenever you're working within this program, you have three main goals that you need to focus on with your movement when you first start. Number one is going to be strength, all right? Strength is going to be the mother of all qualities. That is the foundation for power, for speed. That is the foundation for hypertrophy, meaning changing your muscle mass. And that's also going to be the foundation for changing and losing body fat. Because the more strength you build, the more muscle you can build. The more muscle you build, the more fat you can burn. All right? So you have got to start to build strength. All right? Number two is going to be quality. So when we talk about quality, that is going to help us build mobility, okay, and control. So many guys are struggling with injuries whenever they come back into their training, all right? They're tight. They haven't moved a certain way in a long time. So if you can focus on your movement quality, not only are you making sure that the load of a squat, for example, goes to your hips and your legs, but that you're also developing the control of those joints and the range of motion of those joints over time, right? So for example, if you were to just stand up right now and try to do a deep squat, all right, the first rep might feel like shit. Number 2, number 3, number 5, number 20, you get warmed up, your range of motion improves, and you build mobility throughout that exercise. So whenever you're working on your movement quality, you can build mobility inside of those exercises because again, you only have so much time to train. So if you can work on the movement quality, which is going to help you build mobility and control, you're killing 2, 3, 4 birds with one stone. All right. So we have strength, we have quality, and then the last piece that's going to be big is going to be conditioning. All right. However the hell you spell that. Trying to write it fast. All right. I promise I know how to spell conditioning. I promise. All right, so conditioning, all right, your cardiovascular health. How do you fit that into 3 times a week strength training, full body workouts? The answer is that you keep the rest periods as short as you can possibly maintain them. 15, 30, 45 seconds maximum. If you're able to do that and you're able to move through a lot of exercises inside of that 45-minute period, your heart rate will be elevated the whole time. So you'll have a conditioning effect inside of these 3 workouts. So whenever you go onto the internet and you start to see that people are doing all the crazy shit that they're doing, and you want to be able to do some of that, how do you fit that inside of a legitimate schedule that works for you and also helps you build momentum from the jump? You do that by making sure that you focus on strength, making sure you focus on full range of motion and controlled movements, and also keeping your rest period short so that you hit all 3 of the major pillar qualities that you need when you're first getting back into things. All right, so ChatGPT, 3 times a week, 45 minutes, full body beginner, keep your rest period short, focus on movement quality. If you can do that, if you do that for fucking 3 to 6 months, like I'm telling you, life is totally different at that point. All right, y'all, so you have your plan in place, right? 3 times a week, full body, you're gonna focus on strength, movement quality, and that's gonna help you build in some mobility and conditioning. You got that taken care of. All right, now you need to pick a goal, okay? And so I'm not gonna spend my time trying to bore you with SMART goals, right, that you've been learning since kindergarten or 2nd grade or whatever, right? Those are important, they do work, but for me personally, I think it's more important to talk about and zoom out a little bit and talk about the types of goals that you're gonna be able to set that are actually gonna keep you consistent and accountable to what you said you were gonna do. And so what that is you're gonna have a consistency goal and a performance goal, all right? So in the first month that you're training, you're trying to build momentum and you're really trying to make these new habits and this new lifestyle stick. So you can't go 1 time on the first week, 3 times on the second, twice on the third, then once again on the fourth. You need to be consistent and you need to make what you're doing a part of your routine and your lifestyle if it's going to stick for the long term, right? So these 6 and 8 week challenges can work to help you build some momentum, but when that 8 weeks is over, what are you gonna do, right? Well, if you are able to get yourself to a place where, at 1 o'clock on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, you work out, then it's gonna become part of your lifestyle. So what you wanna try to do is build a consistency goal. So in that first month, I challenge you, if you're doing 3 times a week full body, that's 12 workouts, you need to go 10 for 12, all right? Now, that's not 100%, and that's just the fact of life. Some things are gonna happen, your kids are gonna get sick, they're gonna get, they're gonna bite somebody at daycare, your job is gonna get crazy, you might miss a workout, it is going to happen, but you're not gonna miss more than 1 a week. In fact, you're not even gonna miss 1 a week. You're gonna miss 2 out of 12, all right? If you can hit all 12, then that's fucking awesome. Good for you. But this is a realistic target for most people, especially if you haven't been training for 3, 6, 12 months, all right? Or even longer sometimes. Now, the thing with this is this just gets you to go to the gym, which is, getting out of bed is part of it. Going to the gym is part of it. But it does not get you to actually put in the work while you're there. So if you start doing these workouts and you see that maybe you're capable of bench pressing 95 pounds for 10 reps, all right? Well, then your goal at the end of that 12-week cycle is to be able to bench press 115 or 135, right? You have to have a performance goal that is going to get you to actually put in the effort while you are there and stick to a plan, okay? So if you show up, that's one thing, but if you don't do anything while you're there, then what's the point? You have to be able to have a performance and an outcome goal to get you excited about what you're capable of doing from all of this hard work that you're putting in, right? So it's not just going to the gym, it's what do I do when I get there and what is my body capable of because of that effort, all right? So you gotta get a plan in place. I don't care what it is. A plan is better than no plan at all, even if it's the worst plan of all time, all right? And then after that, you got to really get real with yourself. What are your goals and what are your legitimate capabilities as far as your schedule to make it to the gym? 10 out of 12 times, I think is super reasonable for probably 95% of the guys that I've worked with in the past, all right? And then pick a performance goal. What do you want to be able to do? Do you want your mile time to go from 11 minutes to 10 minutes, or your bench press to go from 95 to 135, or whatever, right? Pick something and then have that be a target so that when you get to the gym and you're executing your plan, you're actually putting in hard work and pushing yourself. All right, now let's go to point 2. All right, guys, mistake number 2 that we're going to talk about that I see in probably 80+% of the guys that I've worked with who are making their comeback is going to be what I've called my 4 twos, okay? That's TOO, not TWO, all right, even though it is point number 2. And that is going to be too much, too soon, too hard, too fast. All right, we could talk about all of these in a bunch of different ways, but essentially what I'm getting at is that you are excited about training. And if you're like a lot of the guys that I work with, you were an athlete growing up. So you're used to hard training. You maybe had 2-a-days in football back in high school. Maybe you're playing rec basketball and volleyball and training back in your mid-20s when you got out of college. So you are excited about getting back into a new program. The other thing is too, the internet is dangerous. So you see people out there doing some crazy stuff that has taken years of dedicated training to get to. And let's be honest, most people just are not ready for that. I'm not ready for a lot of stuff that's on there, and neither are a lot of the guys that I train with. So whenever you're getting back into your training program, you have to progressively build things to a place that actually allows you to recover and adapt to your training, not just kick your ass going straight to it. So let's talk about some examples like that, right? So I've had clients come to me and say, oh man, I tried a training program in the past where, the guy developed it for NFL, like pro athletes, because I wanted to get bigger, faster, stronger. And that's awesome. But this program had them doing sprints on Monday with an upper body workout on Monday evening, yoga on Tuesday with legs, and then sprints and jumps on Wednesday, and then, hypertrophy training on Thursday, and then boom, 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 all this stuff. That is just honestly too freaking much. Like, your program has to be able to actually fit your schedule and where your body is coming into the training if it's going to work for you, right? That may work for a pro athlete that is 19, 20 years old, whose only job is to be a freak of nature, right? But it's not gonna work for you, Mr. 33-year-old, like been behind a desk for the past 3 years, 20 pounds overweight. Like, it's just not gonna do it. Like, I know that you could do a lot back in high school, but like, it's been a minute. You gotta go a little bit slower, and you gotta actually give yourself something that you can integrate into your schedule. Otherwise, you'd be like, damn, I missed 3 workouts this week because I was supposed to train 6 days this week. And then you're like, oh, well, I just fell off and now it doesn't matter. And, boom, you're right back where you started. All right. So there is such thing as too much off the jump. All right. So too much too soon, right? There's a timing to this thing. You got to build the rhythm. You got to build the consistency. You got to build the momentum. So getting 2 or 3 workouts a week for months on end puts you in a place where now adding an extra workout becomes something that's possible, as opposed to going from 0 to 5 days of training a week. It's just too much. Your schedule doesn't know what's up. You don't know how to eat for that yet. You don't know how to sleep for that yet. you don't know how to recover and adapt to all of that stress yet, all right? So you have to realize that integrating that into your workout or into your plan is gonna take time, all right? And then too hard, too fast, okay? So I see this, I see this all the time. In fact, I know I have been guilty of this in the past many times, right? I go travel for 2 weeks, or I get sick for a couple weeks, or whatever it is, and I want to jump right back into my weights and my workouts that I was doing before I fell off a little bit. And then I do that workout, I wake up the next day, and I am so sore that I have to hold on to the freaking sink to sit down and take a shit. Like, it is a real thing, okay? Now, you have been, let's say, not working out for 3 months, 6 months, a year consistently. Just because you used to back squat 315 in high school does not mean that you need to go try to hit that on your first set of squats when you get back in the gym. Sure, like I've seen it. Dudes that are just naturally strong but have built a big base back in the day, they can still throw up some weight, but they go to throw up that weight, they are so sore the next day that they fall off their training program, and it puts them further behind, or they get injured. Like, guys, you have to realize that your body has changed quite a bit since the last time that you trained hard, which, even if that was 6 months ago, has still happened, right? And especially if it was back in college and high school. So whenever it comes time to actually pushing the intensity and using a training program that's going to create the type of, stress on your body that you need, too hard, too fast is a thing. A nice solid 7 out of 10 perceived effort is going to be good enough to get you some progress without totally killing you and ruining the system and just like sending you way back, right? So remember, when you're getting back into training, there is such thing as too much too soon and too hard too fast, all right? All right, guys, so you have your plan, you have your goal. You're gonna avoid the 4 twos of going too hard, too fast, too soon, all right? Too much. And now it is important that you set the stakes, all right? Now, I'm not talking about ribeyes and New York strips and fillets and all that stuff. What I'm talking about is accountability outside of you, all right? This is so important, man. This is I'm telling y'all, this actually might be the most important part that we talk about today. Having extrinsic accountability is something that just we as human beings just need. That's the reason why we travel in groups. That's the reason why we are social creatures and have the cultures that we do, is because part of us not only needs intrinsic accountability to be able to say, I'm a man of my word, I'm going to stick to what I'm going to do, etc., but having people outside of you that are going to hold you to the standards that you are expressing that you want for yourself is absolutely crucial, all right? So we talked about this a little bit in the intro, but this is a very common path that a lot of people experience whenever they get back into their fitness journey. Or you could honestly even just say whenever they set a goal, period. New Year's resolutions, midterm, kind of just, trying to get a little hype up, whatever it is, right? Things are going well for the first week or two, maybe even the first month, right? You're making progress, you're being consistent, you're excited about it. Maybe you're telling your friends and your family and your wife or where people at work or whatever it is. And then all of a sudden something happens right here. I don't know what it is. Maybe it's an injury. Maybe it's, again, your kid's sick. Maybe you got sick. Maybe you're traveling. Maybe you're super, super busy with work because it's tax season and you're a CPA. I don't know what it is. But at this point, 2 weeks in, 3 weeks in, a month and a half in, when it's still not quite a part of your DNA and what your lifestyle is, you get to this kind of crossroads. And this crossroads is where you can either get back on the horse and start doing the routine again and getting into it again, or you can fall off back to this point right here. Unfortunately, I don't know what the statistic is for the New Year's resolution goals. It's 85, 90% plus do not pan out. But from my experience, the people that I've talked to, especially in guys that are busy with their career and their family, they hit this point and unfortunately 80+% significantly fall off. And now they may not go straight back to the bottom where they were. They may not be back here, but they've fallen off to a place, maybe right here. They try to come back up. Maybe they're a little defeated. They don't have the routine that they had. Some things aren't going that well. And then they fall off and they're back where they started. And then it's 2 or 3 months, 3 or 4 months, whatever, until they give it another shot. And then that cycle repeats itself until maybe one day they actually, are able to pick it up and keep it up. All right. So The reason why I'm bringing this up is because this point right here is fucking crucial. Like, it is so crucial. Whenever you're trying to learn a new skill, start a new task, change your behavior, build a new lifestyle for yourself, that takes momentum. All right. And momentum is a crucial part in actually getting the long-term changes that you want, because momentum is built on daily repetition of small changes. All right. So whenever it comes to actually setting the stakes, here are the two things that I recommend for my clients, what I've seen work for myself and what I've seen work for them. All right. So you have to have a punishment. So the punishment has to be something that you really don't want to do. All right. It could be donate $500 to, some like cause that, you have to donate to. It's like, or you could have to wear, your buddy's, your rival's, jersey for 2 days or to a home game. I'm an LSU fan. If I had to wear Alabama jersey to an LSU Alabama game, I would hate that, right? That's a punishment. I think the punishment best goes with our consistency goal from part 2. All right. The reason being is because you have control over your consistency. All right. So control over your consistency. Because I get to decide how many days I show up to the gym. I get to decide whether or not I get up and go for that 30-minute walk I should go in the morning. I get to decide whether I put that food in my mouth. I get to decide all of these things. This is within my control. All right. Punishment for consistency. I think that is crucial. And this is going to be something that you are going to tell 3 friends about. 3 friends, 3 spouses, 3 coworkers, 3 whatever, and they are going to hold you to this. So that could be, you got to give $500 to something. If you make a lot of money and $500 is not a big deal to you, then you got to take a 15-minute ice bath. If you don't mind the cold, then you got to do something that's a little embarrassing, like a fantasy football type punishment or something. You have got to put some stakes on you not doing what you said you were going to do. Otherwise, when you don't do it, what does it matter? It doesn't matter. That's the thing. And that's why you'll fall off whenever things actually get hard. All right. I've seen it countless times. You don't put stakes on it. You end up getting to a spot where it's difficult. You go, it's difficult, and you fall back off. All right. And then number 2 is you got to pick a prize. I said that with my chest. You got to pick a prize, right? And that prize is related to the performance goal that you set at the beginning of your training cycle. Why do we have a prize for that? Because to actually get the performance goal, you have to work hard at it. You don't necessarily get to decide whether or not you actually make the progress to bench 135 from 95, right? Sometimes the training program doesn't work that well. Sometimes your body doesn't adapt that quickly. Sometimes you got a little overzealous with the goal that you picked, right? It doesn't matter what the reason is, but if you do get to that goal, then you need to fucking celebrate it. You need to celebrate. You need to give yourself something that you'll be hyped about, right? I'm into streetwear and sneakers. So if I get to a certain goal that I give myself, I get that new pair of Asics that I want, right? It doesn't matter what it is. It does not matter what it is. It could be an experience. It could be a meal. It could be a pair of sneakers. It could be tickets to a game. It could be whatever you want. But you have got to give yourself something that's actually meaningful for you that you will receive once you've completed your goal. All right. So guys, this is crucial. And again, this is something you can tell 3 people about. I think it's more important to tell people about the punishment for the consistency aspect, but the prize is something that you can share with other people too. If you get those sneakers, be like, yeah, man, actually I bought myself these sneakers because, a month ago I had a goal of benching 135 and I did it. And I'm excited about that. You can tell people about that, right? People love to hype up and they love to hear about progress. And if they don't, they're haters. Don't worry about them. But the punishment and consistency, I have a buddy that I can always call that would keep it real with me. And if I tell him I have a goal and I don't and he knows that I'm not showing up for that, and I know he's not showing up for his thing, we will be on each other's ass about it. All right. So you got to tell people about it. That way you have some kind of extrinsic accountability, which is crucial. All right. So part number 3 is that, or mistake number 3 is that people don't set any stakes. Like, yeah, I'm going to go work out. Okay, cool. How many times? I don't know, whatever. Okay, cool. What are you going to do? I don't know, whatever. No plan, no goal, no accountability, too much, too fast, and it doesn't matter because if you don't do it, then so what? All right. So mistake number 3, you got to set the stakes. All right, guys. And our last and final mistake that I see most guys making whenever they're making their comeback and their return to training is that they are doing the same old workouts that they were doing in high school, that their dad was doing in high school, that their freaking grandfather and great-grandfather were all doing, right? And what those workouts typically look like are moderate to heavy weights using barbells, dumbbells, and machines. And now, I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with that type of routine. In fact, you can use that type of routine, changing up the exercises every so often, changing up the reps every so often for the rest of your life and probably be totally content. Now, if you're like the guys that I work with who want to, as we say, stay athletic for life, then you become very limited with these tools and you become honestly super, super bored. After a couple of months of making significant progress with a nice plan using these implements, you start to just be like, all right, like, is this it? Like what else is out there? I talk to guys every day who are bored, but want to move better, feel better, and look better as well. All right. So here's a couple of things. I'm going to give you 4 things that you can think about integrating into your routine after the first 2 to 3 months that you've started to build some momentum, build some consistency, and really, gotten it into a place where it's a part of your lifestyle. And you're like, all right, cool. I can work out. I can go to the gym, but now what's next? All right. So let's talk about that. Number 1 is going to be new tools. All right, so I'm going to put a list over here on the side of just some different things to consider whenever you're starting to work out that you can implement into your training routine. You got kettlebells, you got maces, you got sandbags, you got ropes, you got sleds, you got med balls, you got so much stuff that you can use inside of a normal gym that can not only improve your performance, but also keep you mentally stimulated in a way that's going to make you excited about your training, right? So how many months in a row can you do a standard bench press and a standard push-up every single workout before you're just like, all right, like I'm fucking bored. Like this is boring to me, right? You can change things up, you can mix things up with different implements and different tools, and there's a lot of different ones you can use that I think are really easily accessible. You learn some basics with them, and then you can just explore and do a whole lot of cool stuff with that, all right? Number 2 is gonna be, instead of just moving moderate to heavy weights, using barbells, dumbbells, and machines, you need to be able to use light weights and move them fast, all right? We can call that explosive training, okay? Light weights, fast / explosive, all right? Now, I'm not saying you need to go learn the Olympic lifts. I'm not saying you need to do anything, crazy ballistic, but when was the last time you slammed a medicine ball into the ground as hard as you could? When is the last time, you did something like a landmine clean and jerk or a landmine snatch, or, you moved fast with the rope? Like being able to move fast and be explosive, forgot the E on the end of explosive. Being able to move fast and be explosive is a huge part in not only, there's so many things that come with that. The more explosive you can get, the more type 2 muscle fibers you have, so you can recruit more, build more strength, and build more muscle in the long term. Every single sport revolves around explosive movements. Even if you're playing pickleball, to go to the side to try to get a dink, like you need to be explosive to be able to actually get there, right? And also too, guys, it stimulates your brain, okay? If you're like me and you're trying to build a business, or maybe you already have your business built, or maybe you're tied up with a lot of family stuff, or maybe, there's a lot of stuff just going on in your life, something that actually gets your brain stimulated and excited is worth its weight in gold. And whenever you go to the gym and you show up and it looks like you have some jumps to do, some med ball slams, some kettlebell cleans or whatever it is, like that's actually exciting, and that's going to be something you can put into your routine that is going to keep you wanting to go back to the gym for more and get you better results. 3 is going to be rotational movements. All right? Rotational movements. Bench press is great. Pull-ups are great. Rows are great. Dips are great. All of those big compound movements are awesome for not only building strength, improving just your general kind of organism's robustness, right? If I put 300 pounds on a bar on my back and I squat it up and down, like I'm capable. I can handle some stuff, right? But life in sports are movement. Throwing a ball is, I said movement is rotation. Throwing a ball is rotation. Hitting a ball is rotation. Kicking a ball is rotation. Sprinting is rotation. All of this stuff involves rotation, all right? The other thing is that when you can use one leg and one arm at a time, for example, like single arm kettlebell work, mace work, landmine work, stuff like that, you start to integrate the two sides of your brain and it improves your coordination and your balance and your athleticism, right? So rotational movements. I have my 5 exercise upgrade series. A lot of those are based on rotation. My cable rows, high to low, cable rows, low to high, pushes, presses, all of those things involving your core and rotational movements are huge in building athleticism in the long term, but also keeping you excited about your training program. All right. And then the last piece is going to be stuff that makes you build your hand-eye coordination. All right. Hand-eye cord. Okay. This is awesome, man. This is the kind of stuff that you just do not get whenever you're doing traditional weight training, heavy weights, using barbells, dumbbells, and machines. You just don't get it, right? And what is sport? What is life? What is, all of your activities that you're probably pretty excited about actually going to do? It involves a lot of hand-eye coordination. Throwing a ball, catching a ball, pickleball, volleyball, any stuff like that is going to actually get your body's ability to take what you're seeing with your eyes and translate that into movement that affects your body and your environment. All right. So I love warming up with a tennis ball. I love warming up with like fast drop catch reps. I love warming up with a med ball and having to do different things like that where I have to catch it and try to move with the implement and actually, try to be more athletic as opposed to just laying on a bench and pressing. That stuff is awesome for building muscle and building just general strength. But getting it to translate into something that makes you feel more athletic, you have to start to mix it up using hand-eye coordination drills and different stuff with agility and things like that. All right. So when it comes to our 4th biggest mistake, which is the same old, if that's your thing, if just straight bodybuilding and weightlifting using dumbbells, barbells, and machines is your thing, that's awesome. I heard a saying one time that this is like the missionary of strength training. And, mish is good. A little belly to belly mish never hurt anybody. But you don't want to do that for forever. At least I don't, right? So integrating new tools, moving fast and explosive with lighter weights, and also building that capacity, building in rotational movements, and things that involve hand-eye coordination are going to be crucial in the long-term enjoyment of your program. I appreciate you getting to this point. If you stuck with me this far, I really appreciate it. I'm excited to share this content with you because this is stuff that I've gathered from, honestly just being in the trenches, working on it with myself and also the 100 or so guys that have come through our training program now. This is stuff that I've really seen make actionable progress for people. So I appreciate you taking a listen. So just to recap everything, mistake number 1 is you don't have a plan and you don't have a goal. So how do we avoid that? Pick a plan, make a plan, man. You can go to ChatGPT, you can go to your boy at the gym who knows a little something, ask him for some help. You can come to me, whatever, get a plan, all right? And then pick your goals, okay? Again, you need 2 goals. You need a consistency goal and you need a performance goal. One's gonna get you to the gym, one's gonna make sure that you work hard when you get there, all right? Number 2 is avoid the 4 twos, too hard, too fast, too much, too soon, okay? So start off slow and steady. Again, get your plan, get your goals, hit the gym 2 to 3 times a week. If you do that consistently, you put in enough effort to get yourself sweating and working hard, you will make progress. After you build that momentum, which looks like that, you'll be able to actually start to pivot and make different choices based on how you want to look, how you want to feel, and how you want to move, all right? But at the beginning, build the momentum, build the consistency. Slow and steady wins the race, all right? Number 3 is you got to set the stakes and you got to tell them. So you got to pick your stakes. You got to pick your punishment and your prize. Again, your punishment has to be something where if it happens, you're like, damn, this is going to suck, right? Think about a bad fantasy football punishment. Think about, donating $500 to whatever, that you don't get that fired up about if there's some kind of cause out there for you, Like I think about somebody who is very Democratic having to donate to a very Republican campaign or vice versa, right? You wouldn't want to do that, okay? And then you got to tell people. You got to pick at least 3 people that you know are going to hold you accountable so that whenever you come time, you're at that fork in the road, that you make the right decision. And if you start making the wrong decisions, you got people who are going to be on your ass about it. And it's not on your ass like, oh, you're not doing a good job. It's on your ass like, hey, remember, you said you wanted these goals. You said you wanted to be able to do X, Y, Z, that, we're here to try to make sure that you get there. All right. And then the last part is that you got to avoid the same old, same old. You got to mix it up a little bit. At the very beginning, the first 2, 3, 4 months, you don't need to mix it up. All right. But for the long-term success, 6 months plus, 1 year plus, you are going to want to integrate new movements and exciting movements into your training that actually get you fired up about training. Because at that point, likely the initial goal that you're working on, you have to change it. You've already gotten there. The initial plan that you're working through, you need to change it because you've already done it 400 times, right? So what are you gonna do? You're just gonna do a different type of push-up, or are you gonna actually start to use some new tools, move with more explosive training, use rotation? All those types of things are gonna help you actually stay in the game and commit to the promise that you made to yourself whenever you picked this goal and you got excited about getting back into your health and fitness journey, all right? So take these 4 things, integrate them in a way that makes sense to you. If you have any questions or comments, please leave it in the comments section, or if there's a way to message me, feel free to do that. We're on all the socials, Shift Fit Systems on Instagram and Facebook. Reach out to me on there. I'll respond to all those messages if you have any particular questions, or if you want to book a call to talk about what our coaching systems look like, be happy to help you out. All right, guys, Athletic for Life. Peace.